Inside Social. This is Brewster, Brian, and Joey. And they're of Techstars formerly and currently located here in the South Lake Union offices. And so why don't you give us a little explanation of what it is Inside Social?
So we're Inside Social, and we help brands measure and increase their social ROI by focusing on the metrics that really matter, like revenue and conversions, instead of likes and follows. So essentially we're able to show how a share leads to a visit, leads to some type of transaction, whether it's a purchase, an email sign up, a mobile app install, to actually complete the full cycle of social.
Okay, alright. And so you guys have pivoted from a previous idea. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of your experience of that, why you pivoted and
yeah, so the pivot is definitely completely customer driven. So we actually started out in another business, social gateways, which were essentially paywalls where the currency for access was social action, such as a Facebook like, Twitter follow, etc. And we actually got pretty good initial traction behind that business, got to like 40 customers, and what we kept hearing was, well, this is great, like I'm increasing the quantity and quality of my social following, but what is it really worth? Like when users come to my Facebook page and I push content, they actually then go to my site, and then do they end up doing anything? I really have no idea what the value is, and we kept hearing this over and over and over, and we thought, we'd be really dense if we didn't listen to our customers. This seems like a bigger pain point than the one that we're solving, so we should audible, and we should go after that. I kind of call it an audible. I like sports metaphors.
It works. Alright, so like versus what you were working on, was this during Techstars?
No, so that was not during Techstars. So we're actually in Techstars right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're halfway through Techstars.
Alright, and have you guys officially launched as well? So you guys have customers on board and all that sort of...
Yeah, so I don't know if we can say them on camera, but we're working with at least 2 Fortune 50 brands.
That's good.
We're working with some of the larger companies out there. So yeah, so we are launched in live customers.
Did you do any sort of like customer surveys, or did you do any outreach? Clearly, you're getting this feedback from customers. What was sort of push over the line and said, okay, this is why we need to switch?
It was a serendipitous moment where we were sort of spitballing around what this thing we were going to build to solve this bigger problem of what is social worth.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of had an idea, and we kind of floated it to one of the customers we were talking to about the previous product. And he basically came back and said, this is what we're trying to solve right now, like, when can we have this? And it was kind of like that eureka moment, like, oh, like, this is a real pain point, this is something that a big customer really wants right now, like, we got to get this to them.
Okay. And you had previous customers before you pivoted, right?
Right.
How did you sort of inform them that, like, okay, we're changing what we're doing? How did they respond to that as well?
Well, so our new customer segment wasn't the same as the old segment, so like we didn't have the challenge of like needing to convert them to a new product.
Right.
We sort of just said, hey, like we're going to have this legacy product, we'll let you keep using it, we'll continue to support it, but we're not going to be pushing any new changes, so this is what we're going after now. And so I think that actually worked out well, because we're like, okay, well, at least we can still use the product, we understand nothing new is coming.
Right.
We gave them some notice, so it wasn't like, hey, see you later, like, you trusted us and now we're gone. So,
right.
I mean, people actually still use that legacy product today,
Oh, okay.
so.
Nice. And so, like, looking back now, sort of 2020 hindsight, is there something you would do differently, something you wish you'd done sooner or later, or during that transition or that change that maybe, caused for some rocky times or anything like that?
I think we could have gotten more customer input on exactly what they wanted to see in the data we were presenting. We were taking some guesses as far as, this is the kind of thing that they're going to be able to get value out of.
Mm-hmm.
I think we missed on some of our assumptions, so if we had done a little more gathering feedback from customers about what exactly they wanted to see, we probably could have skipped an iteration cycle of our product.
Sure, okay. And so how about now, that customer feedback you're getting, how does that drive what you're doing, and how often do you sort of seek that out?
We are constantly seeking it out.
Yeah.
Like we actually had a customer tell us the other day that like be careful, I can be annoying with feedback. And I was like, to me that was like I was hearing the sirens call. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. Like, please, you can't possibly annoy me if you call me at 3 in the morning with like these 2 complaints. I'm gonna love it. So we actively seek out customer feedback, and we're trying to be as customer centric in our product development as we can be.
And so how do you analyze that, right? Because you could have one customer wanting something way out left field. You think, okay, I got to deliver on that, but it could distract you from maybe your core product or something, and maybe that's not lying. How do you know that's something that other customers are going to want, or like with all this information coming in, how do you make that something usable that you can move forward with your company?
Yeah, I think it's about, first of all, just being aggressive, getting enough feedback, and then having a good filtering process, being able to pattern match and say, okay, this is something a lot of people are saying, not just one person. So just being able to hear what they're saying and sort of coalesce that feedback into some consistency where you say, okay, this is clearly what we need to be working on.
Okay. And then do you prioritize or do you just create a list and say these are what we need to work on? How do you know?
We prioritize based so it's, just like you said, it's pattern match. It's parse and pattern match. So take everything down. You can kind of, after talking to enough customers, you start to hear that request is clearly so out of left field. It's only going to be applicable to that one customer. And so you have to message to them, hey, we want to make you as happy as possible. We have other customers. We're working on these things, but we want to make you happy. We'll get to that at some point.
Right. Okay.
But at the same time, in a startup at our size and our stage, priorities are constantly changing. I think Brian probably knows as well as anyone. We're constantly saying we got to be working on this or this or this. So it's not something that's always just consistent. It's something that's probably changing constantly.
Okay. And then, what was the other? That's another question I totally spaced. So talking to customers, there's sort of always this issue where. Like Henry Ford says, if I asked what my customers wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? So maybe they don't actually know what they need versus that. So how do you do that as well? How do you communicate?
Yeah, so
if that's an issue,
it's definitely true, and I think in our space, a lot of what we're doing is very novel. Mm-hmm. So it's not. I'm not going to say we're inventing the automobile, but I think that we're innovating in a real way. So our customers don't actually sometimes know what they actually want.
Right.
So we have to listen, read between the lines, and then we do apply some element of intuition, right, and some element of instinct in saying that we are thought leaders in this space. We know what's going to be best to a certain extent. If I know what the customer's core objectives are, and the way that they translate, my core objective is this, but I want to translate into this. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are translations where it's missed. To go back to the horse example, right? Their core objective was I wanted to get to where I was going faster.
Right.
But they would have said I want to get to that faster horse. Well, we take that, okay, what is the actual core, what is the most important thing that you want to accomplish, and let us, knowing what we know about the market and about the technology, let us decide what the best way to actually implement that is.
Okay.
It's also being super data driven. It's important to gather that feedback, but actions speak louder than words, so paying attention to what people are using, what they're interacting with on our site, and using that to drive future iterations.
Okay.
We actually just have so much data, when we come up with new metrics and new insights, we have all the data, it's just a matter of manipulating the data to give the customer what they want. So we can always go back and refill in what they might want based on what they've done so far, which is kind of cool.
So just getting into the gritty details, when a customer comes back to you and says, hey, this would be really great, what do you do with that information? Is it just all thrown into a spreadsheet? You're doing all this sort of data analysis and then look at the numbers, just practically for all the startups out there that want to do the same thing, what do you do on the ground level just to manage all this information that's coming in?
Yeah, I think that's something we could be more process driven around.
Uh-huh.
We certainly grab it, throw it into spreadsheets and put on documents that we share within the team, but I think we could be more scientific about gathering that data and really analyzing it on an ongoing basis. So I would say use spreadsheets, use a system, we should be better at it.
Right, okay, that's fair enough. Anything else you want to recommend to other startups out there on the importance of being customer focused and
don't worry about funding, don't worry about product, really don't worry about anything other than customers. You can raise $1 trillion and have the world's greatest product, but if nobody wants to use it, no one wants to engage with it, and if you're an enterprise and no one wants to pay you for it, it's not worth anything. So customers are the lifeblood of your business, and that's the most important thing, I think, other than probably your coworkers as well.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and start in Seattle. Very much appreciated. This is Inside Social.
Thank you. And we want to give one shout out to our other co-founder, Alan. He's not here right now. He's out there saving customers' lives, actually.
There you go.
But we miss him.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.